You are now listening to the Trebla Art Podcast. What's up, everybody? So today I am here with some pretty amazing people that are doing some pretty cool, interesting things here in the city. I'm here with Jesus Toro Martinez and Mary Worth. And I guess I honestly don't feel like I could really introduce y'all because y'all are doing such big things here in the city and for the hospital. I guess you could start it off, Toro, with telling the people a little bit about who you are.
Albert, thank you so much to coming to my studio at Lone Star Art Space. This is fantastic, what we're doing here. And believe me, this is a whole collaboration of community artists, mid-career established artists working with to put an exhibit in a non-traditional space called an ER room. And Mary is, she's with Baptist Health Systems, and they have allowed us to come in, and I have been the bridge between the community artists that they, and you can see here, all these artists are coming to an ER room, which is never unheard of. Mm-hmm. You always hear an ER room as where a lot of people are coming for need of medical assistance, really emergency stuff that we ourselves cannot take care of. We need the professionals. So this is so good that Baptist Hospital is creating something in the heart of downtown, a historic building that has been here forever, and they have renovated it and made it into a cool ER space, and for allowing us to come in. And thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you.
For inviting us and letting us be part of this vision. Tell us more of how this whole thing is going at the ER.
Well, so we've renovated our ER. We've expanded the space. We've tripled the space, I believe. So, yeah, we recognize and we continue to try and upgrade our facilities. So specifically this ER is Baptist Medical Center downtown in the heart of San Antonio, one of the oldest hospitals in San Antonio. And so we wanted to do something that connected with the community. So I wanted to do, not the typical kind of, come in, see it, have a snack and leave, but I wanted to do something a little more meaningful. And so I had this idea. I reached out to Toro and shared it with him. And how do we do it? How do we get it done? And so he was my super helpful, initiator of this whole project. So it was great to collaborate with him. Again, he has that connection to the artist. I know I like art. I know what I like when I see it. I'm just not super familiar with people. So Toro is more so. And so I love that he's able to reach out to his artist community and say, hey guys, what do you think about this? And just that collaboration and meeting all the artists who have been part of this has been fantastic, and hearing their stories, their different backgrounds. And to me, being able to connect in that way to the community is different and more meaningful in the long run. And so that's something I'm glad that we're doing, and I want to continue to do if we can in different ways.
Yeah, and it's really awesome because it's such a diverse group of artists. I guess normally you could walk into a hospital and immediately see, 1 to maybe 3, but I think, with this event, there's almost 30 artists involved.
We have brought in together a partnership with the hospital directly, with over 30 artists that would participate within time. And the whole beauty about this is the artists will be making 100% of the proceeds. I don't see anything, Lone Star Art Space does not see anything. And the good part that is in the Lone Star Art District, that these artists that they're here in the neighborhood are benefiting from this. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited that we have some real good names, you can start from here, from this wall. Andy Villarreal, he's been painting for over 40 years. Janie Martin, she has been painting for 20 years. We can go on, Boyd and Gold, he does these amazing sculptures. You, Albert, you have done amazing with your flowers.
Amazing work.
Thank you.
And so these things, are going to create an environment for healing. Mm-hmm. The hospital is a healing place for a lot of people to come through. And while they see local artists and they recognize things, and it's good to bring something soothing to them. And by doing this collaboration with the hospital, it's going to open more healing process doors to people, to individuals. And that's what we're hoping. And bring beauty inside the hospital, not always think about, oh, I have to go to the hospital because so-and-so is very sick and very ill. No, I'm going to this hospital because it has cool art.
Yeah.
And it's all from all over San Antonio. And that's the best part. It's like you can go visit the sick, but also get a cultural experience at the same time.
You know, it's funny you mention that because, you know, me and Caroline are getting ready to have our baby. So we're taking a tour of, you know, one of the hospitals in the maternity section. And, you know, as an artist, one of the first things I'm looking at is the walls. And, you know, I see, you know, somewhat generic type, you know, art on the wall. And I think to myself, like, you know, for someone that's having a baby, you're walking into your, you know, delivery room and you see like this thing that says, you know, dream or something like that's unoriginal. And, you know, I thought to myself, you know, what if something bright and colorful like the Wabi Sabi series that's, you know, about, you know, life and stuff like that were in this area, like how can that affect, you know, the person that's, you know, getting prepped to either give birth or the person that might be going into surgery or just coming in for the checkup? Like it's really beautiful, the power of art and what it could
The power of art is so powerful that I this is what I envision. I see a lot of people coming into a space and then you see beautiful colors and but then the work in there has to have a meaning. The meaning that describes the transformation about San Antonio. Every artist here that is participating is showing in a very different way a whole fabric of San Antonio and talks about the work themselves that represents actually San Antonio. And Mary, this is a wonderful partnership, and I'm so glad and thankful that the hospital has reached out to the artist community to do this. And we're so happy to put this together for you. And everybody behind you, it's a wonderful thing.
Well, I hope this is, I'm really excited about it as well. And like you mentioned, Albert, just even in the process of this one event that we're having next weekend, it was interesting to receive the art because I had the opportunity to talk to the artists. But not only that, my day being here with Toro, receiving each piece moved me in a different way. And it changed my day. It changed the feel. It changed me. And so I'm hoping what I experienced was de-stressing, you know, to be real honest. And so I'm hoping that happens to people as they walk the halls of our hospital. And although we're going to start with a small, you know, exhibition, we hope to, in time, grow that and continue to grow that through our different hallways. As you mentioned, the maternity ward as well. So it's a slow process in a system like ours. It's a large system. So little by little.
That was like, I guess, another question too. Is you know, what being in the hospital. You know, I know that there's a whole bunch of different levels that you have to get stuff cleared. Yes. How was that process of having this idea and then, you know, making it to actual, you know, an actual thing? Like, how's that been?
So, you know, my background is not a hospital system. So my background is in advertising, marketing, public relations, community events. So walking into a system, I guess half of me is like, well, why can't we do this? How can we do this? I just start asking questions because I've done different things, just a little bit out of the box, unusual, with a unique twist, you know, something meaningful. And so in just starting to ask those questions, I was guided to, well, you need to talk to these people, talk to those people. So it was a continuous conversations and keep moving it, pushing it forward a little bit. And quite honestly, everybody was very helpful. Each person has a job to do in our system, and I get that. You know, there's compliance, there's legal, and we have to make sure and dot all the I's and cross the T's. But that process wasn't as painful as you would think. They were actually, they asked good questions. We asked, bottom line, like, you know, we'd answer them, and then it was like, well, how can we make this work? How do we cross this hurdle and continue to move it forward? And they were interested in doing it too. It's just a matter of doing it the right way. And so it was not a bad process.
It was
it's
a very,
you
know, it's very scary when people see, they hear the words compliance and legal. these are very scary for an artist, even myself, because you have to think about, liability, this and that. But honestly, when you start going through the whole process and working with a corporate entity and a good community partner with a local artist, seeing all the process, I learned if I'm doing this for myself, why don't I bring along other artists to go through the same process and let the hospital select what would look best for them. And that's a person, and then by reviewing all their documentation, so we learned how to, thanks to Mary and their team at the hospital, we learned how to mainstream this whole process. So it'd be easier for the artist to become an individual vendor, register with the hospital itself, and then at the same time release any liabilities that come through it, and then make sure that the work is acceptable and adequate for wherever it's going to be. Because when we deal with art and compliance, long time ago, an art piece was eligible to be placed in anywhere in the hospital. Now we have another whole strict rules set up by government entities to make sure that our hospitals are safe and no outside bacteria is coming in. We're working with very diverse group of artists. These things were something that we had to look for and look at every single artist, and then to work with the actual pieces that are acceptable for the space and when they can be in the space. And by doing all this, these are things that we do for compliance. So the city and whatever government entity is behind this can see that these pieces are safe to be in the hospital. And that's where I stepped in. I said, I'll take the leadership to go over through these processes and learn about it, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And at the end, I'll share these ideas and these things to the local community, creative community. So when they're actually working on their work, think about these things. Conceal your art. Make sure your art is very well sealed, so no external bacteria or grown stuff can happen into your work when you are in a place like this. So those are things that we had to go through, and those are part of compliance. And by understanding that, and your art, Albert, is so good and perfect. So we have managed to how to bring your work in, but be acceptable. And that's, look at my work. My work is something that it has a lot of different textures and layers of different things that they're like trash. And you're probably wondering, how is that going to happen? Well, they have to be very well sealed, very well, so no air, that they're considered airtight into the piece. And when they're airtight, then they're considered nothing external can come into that piece.
So it doesn't create bacteria, infectious diseases, things
yes.
like that. So there's those kind of compliance issues that we need to work around.
So,
but we're working through them. So.
Yeah, and it's this very slow process, and I'm so glad that the body of artists that we have faith in me and are very appreciative that I'm taking them through the same journey that I'm going through.
Yeah.
As soon as I see something of what is acceptable, I'll share this with everybody and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. And they're all like, yes, Toro, thank you for letting us, thank you for including us. Thank you for actually, because I really don't have the time. I've heard from some artists saying, I don't have the time to learn all this, these 3-ring binders with all this compliance stuff. I'm glad that you're reading this. And basically, we have to learn it so I can turn around and say, hey, we can do this. It's very simple. Just don't worry about all the verbiage that's here. They have to say it in order to us to jump that hurdle. So
it was really cool because right before, I'd say maybe at least 10 minutes before you gave me a phone call to notify me and Caroline that we were going to be accepted into the show, me and Caroline were having this long lengthy conversation about, preparing ourselves for, our baby, and, how we're going to make it work within our careers to, have time in the studio and time to do shows. And, Caroline being, the one carrying the baby, it's been hard for her to really find a lot of time like she normally does to be in the studio. And she was a little stressed out about, her not being, in the studio as much as she usually does. And, I told her, I was like, you know what, everything's going to work out. Like, we're going to have shows, and, just being optimistic about, the situation, which I usually am. And, we had this great conversation, and 5 minutes later we get a phone call, and it's from Toro. And I had told her, look, I told you, everything just kind of has its funny way of just working out.
Yeah.
It's Mother Earth. Mother Earth is saying, be kind to everyone around you, and everyone around you become a wonderful place to be.
And I think it's really admirable of you, Toro, to like be able to take on, projects like this while also preparing for a huge show, a couple of weeks later. And I guess if you could tell, the people too about, that show in Austin, because that's going to be a really big thing. And I'm super excited about that too.
Well, I'm so excited myself, and that's true. I don't know how I managed to squeeze in some community effort work into my everyday routine. I'm showing in Austin at the Emma Barrientos Mexican American Cultural Center. It's at 600 River Street in Austin, Texas, and the show opens on September 13th. This is a week after our opening exhibit at the downtown ER room, which that is scheduled for Saturday, September 7th. And for those of you who don't know where this place is, it's at 111 Dallas Street, downtown San Antonio, in the heart of San Antonio. Well, from one heart of San Antonio to the heart of downtown Austin, that's where I'll be showing the following week on Friday. And Friday, September the 13th, it's a wonderful day. It's a huge, imagine 2,900 square feet, 29,000 square feet dedicated to my work. That is the largest space at the Barrientos Center, and this is what I've been told. And dealing with the logistics alone just to get the work there. I'm not telling you more about how I created the work, because the work is, it was a long process, collecting materials from the Colorado River along Bull Creek and at Lady Bird Johnson Lake. Those areas, and even going all the way to Bastrop to Fisherman's area. And those things were pretty exciting, collecting the materials, but now putting it together in a full exhibit, working with a curator, Erlinda Zamora. She is amazing. She is also the director of the Cultural Center, and she learned about my work by just a simple conversation. And by me talking about how I create my work, finding raw materials and then grinding them and then repurposing them into pigments and then reinventing them into paint itself, that became so intriguing to her. So like, wow, Toro, what are you doing? Are you sure you're doing this? And having other people coming to see my studio from Austin and then learn how I process this, and then they saw the actual grinding of materials and then putting the work together. One of the largest pieces that will be there is over 25 feet long, and it's a full landscape of Bulls Creek. Bulls Creek is it's one of the that branches away from the Colorado River and then comes back again to the Colorado, but it creates a very refreshing space in Austin where everybody comes and goes for a breather. It's like it's the same as San Pedro Creek here in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. San Pedro Creek is the life and the business part of San Antonio. Bull Creek is also the life, but it's still in full natural stage, and people go on for walks on the river, on the actual creek, and then Towards the end where it meets the Colorado River, people can go canoeing and stuff. It's the same thing with San Antonio River, and right here, the creek itself, San Pedro Creek, also, confluence at the end, and people walk and play, and it becomes a very dynamic space. These two rivers are so unique, and I've learned that a lot of the rivers here in Texas connects everyone. And this whole work is about us being gentle to Mother Earth and being nice. And I feel like I'm creating a movement that we should just be careful with what we discard, into the trash. Be aware of what happens, because that piece of trash that you did from a takeout, you might dispose it just anywhere. Well, I found it, and I found it on one of our creeks and rivers, and those things the things that I did not find are ending up into the Gulf. And when it ends up into the Gulf, it ends up into the bottom of the ocean. And I've seen, when I go on vacation, I take these snorkeling excursions and see what's going on. And I've ran into like trash were the places that I come from. And sometimes we don't know how it got there. But yes, we can start by being careful of what we discard and how we discard it. And it's a movement. If we can just be careful of how we throw things away, at the end, this can turn out to be nice. So if we're nice to each other, this whole world we could be a better place.
And be more resourceful, not just to each other, but to the earth.
Yes, definitely.
So, Mary, how did you and Toro meet? Because you had the idea, you reached out to Toro, but how did this relationship begin? Like, how did y'all?
I'll do it in a real simple way. Mary and her daughter, they came to my studio and they acquired one of my pieces long time ago. And little did I know that they knew my wife, and that's how it's one of those little circles.
I didn't know Toro, but I knew his wife.
Yes.
Yeah, from years ago.
And they didn't know that I was an artist until we said, yes, I'm married to this lady over here. And then, what? No. And that's how it all became. So
I've gotten to know Toro very well. I didn't know him as well as I do now through this process. So.
This process has brought us together and literally opened our minds about how the hospital works and how an artist works, because it's very different, And
he's the creative, and I'm the organizer and get the paperwork ready and push the project forward. And he's
I'm over
out
here
there with all these ideas.
I'm over here walking around in space like, how about we just paint the whole thing pink with blue?
Hold on, Toro. Bring you back a little bit.
Yeah, Toro has some big ideas.
And they're wonderful. It's just trying to figure out how to make it work within our system in hospitals and stuff.
So, Mary, tell the people a little bit about, the event again. I guess the times and dates and stuff.
Yeah, so our event is next Saturday, September 7th from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Baptist Medical Center, which is on 111 Dallas Street, 111 Dallas. So the actual ER faces Main Street. It's just our physical address is 111 Dallas. So you'll see us. We'll have balloons there. Just look for the ER sign. And we will have all of the art represented there in our ER lobby, in a hallway, and we'll also have tours throughout the day of the different ER rooms. We call them pods. And just the various, what they do, the new technology we have. We have different areas. We have one called Fast Track for those people who come in with cold and flu symptoms, but they're feeling really bad. We know we can service them in that area and get them in and out fairly quick. And then we have other areas for more, for triage and for more extensive, that need more extensive help. And we also have, I believe, I think it's 5 behavioral health units as well.
Nice.
So, the NICS just closed.
Yes.
And so that is something, for downtown that's a bit of a hit. So between the hospitals that are left there, we're hoping, we're trying to reach out more to the community to let them know, work with our visitors tourist center, visit San Antonio, Downtown Alliance, let them know the resource that we have, the new resource in our downtown community, so that they can be able to spread the word and know where to send people who are visiting.
So if you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast and you need to go somewhere,
Yep.
you know where to go now.
We know where to go, especially downtown. And just we're recording at a live community space, which is the Lone Star Art Space. And Mary from Baptist Hospital and Albert, thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you
I want
for
to thank you.
participating. Your art is beautiful.
Yeah, no, me and Caroline are both super thankful. I want to thank you both again for being on the podcast and letting not just artists connect more with the community, but also helping us make that connection with our community and just bringing everything together. So I just wanted to say thank you. So is there any social media for the hospital that you want to plug in to?
Yes, I would say go and visit the website for Baptist Medical Center. You'll see the new ER link to it.
Yeah,
there's
follow Baptist
Baptist Medical
Health System.
Yes,
Baptist Health System, and you'll see we created an event on Facebook. You'll see our posts as we get closer. So yeah.
And it's also shared with the Lone Star Art District, so everybody in the neighborhood knows about it. All the participating artists have been invited, and we're all looking forward for this nice Saturday morning event.
Cool. So you want to use your plug for your social media and how people could find you, your website?
Yes, if you want to look for me, I am on, just Google my name, Jesus Toro Martinez. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So.
Nice. And it's me, once again, Albert Gonzalez, Trebla Art, TREBLA_art, or you could visit my website, albertgonzalezart.com. Once again, it's the Trebla Art Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And peace out.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.